They called it fish. Inside, the financial heartbeat of an empire. One torpedo, and Britain goes bankrupt in the Atlantic. If the vault falls, the war ends before it's fought. Gold is heavy, fear is heavier. The Atlantic is a mouth, dark, wide, and hungry. To keep fighting, Britain needed something bombs couldn't destroy: credit. The sea wasn't a route, it was a hunting ground. Canada wasn't just friendly, it was structurally trusted. This wasn't sentiment, it was structure. They had the channels, they had the trust. Now they needed the nerve. If London falls, the vault doesn't fall later, it falls immediately. The operation began the way all dangerous things begin, quietly. They had done it before, smaller, safer, and still terrifying. 50 tons moved without the world noticing. Now they were thinking bigger. In this war, names were liabilities. Halifax didn't celebrate, Halifax received. Once ashore, steel would carry it where spies couldn't follow. The rehearsal was over. Now it had to be total. To save the country, they would pull the country's paper into the same lifeboat. War doesn't ask politely. It takes what it needs. When leadership changes, hesitation dies first. Camouflage starts with what you call the thing. If spies smell fish, they stop smelling treasure. The enemy wasn't only in the sea, sometimes it was in the next room. Bad weather wasn't a problem, it was a curtain. Once it leaves shore, nobody can save it. One hit, one splash, and the war's money is gone. So they chose the darkest hours, and even curiosity sleeps. The best disguise isn't clever, it's forgettable. The greatest treasure in Europe became seafood on paper. They didn't set a date, they set a trigger. This could be the last night the vault belongs to Britain. Even insiders couldn't leak what they didn't fully know. Unknown was the most dangerous word they heard that night. It wasn't decided by courage, it was decided by necessity. A single signature can move a nation's weight. Once the vault opens, the treasure becomes prey. How do you hide something that bright? Wood and salt, cheap materials for priceless cargo. The gamble is chosen, now they have to survive it. Decision was easy, moving it without being seen. That was the war inside the war. Gold could buy weapons, securities could buy time. Britain needed both. Emergency power doesn't knock, it arrives. They didn't just move wealth, they audited it twice under a gun's quiet presence. In Operation Fish, the only acceptable number was the same number, twice. The disguise had rules. Break the seal and the crate would confess. The trick wasn't to hide it. The trick was to make it uninteresting. The more they gathered, the more the operation could be smelled, unless they moved it fast. Metal could be locked, paper could be sealed, people were the variable. If nobody knows the truth, nobody can sell it. They built a pipeline of silence, one lane, one pace, no questions. In a secret this large, a single mistake is a flare in the dark. Stopping was dangerous, but moving wrong was worse. They didn't trust memory, they trusted matching ink. A pause creates questions. Questions create rumors. Rumors create enemies. They moved faster, not louder, because speed can be silent too. This wasn't charity, It was conscription of wealth. Secrecy doesn't break with explosions, it breaks with whispers. When the rumor risk rose, they narrowed the funnel. What if the docks are already compromised? What if fish is already being followed? They didn't just move crates, they moved time into smaller, safer slices. No reset, no backtracking, only forward, because forward leaves less to notice. This is the moment it becomes too big to hide and too late to stop. Consolidation has one purpose: get it out before anyone can ask why. They couldn't afford to trust the ocean with a weak seal. Now, the secret had wheels. If the lie had a scent, it needed to be stronger than curiosity. Every crate needed the same story. Different stories invite questions. A manifest is a map, and maps are what hunters love. They wanted the world to sleep when the wealth left the city. Consolidation ends when the signal is given. Now it was in motion, and motion attracts predators. If the seal broke, the story broke with it. Secrecy requires boredom, and the guards had to stay bored on purpose. They could control a warehouse. A port is a city within a city. Every worker got a role. Nobody got the story. Once consolidation was complete, there was only one way to keep it safe: move it overseas. At the dock, even neatness can look like a secret. If the disguise worked, the most valuable cargo on Earth would be ignored. Consolidation was the gathering. Loading would be the gamble. Loading was where secrets usually died. The disguise didn't need approval, only boredom. Bad weather was the ally no spy could bribe. Speed without noise, another rule of survival. One crack would have told the truth. Stopping too long was riskier than trusting the seal. Once inside, there was no retrieving it, only praying. Scale was safety, finish fast, leave nothing to notice. Delay meant daylight, daylight meant questions. They loaded into chaos because chaos hid them. Even the last box had to look forgettable. Now the ocean would judge them. They would leave when visibility was worst. Sometimes protection meant being alone. Was anyone counting? Once out there, the war would find them. Direction mattered more than speed. Silence was safer than help. Night was protection and danger. Everything depended on wood, wax, and steel. Now the gamble truly began. Silence didn't mean safety. Across the Atlantic, hunters waited. Out here, the ocean wasn't empty. It was just silent about what it carried. They didn't hunt. They tried not to be found. The first sign of danger is never loud. It's a mark in the margin. On a ship carrying a nation's wealth, even a loose chain felt like betrayal. Storm hid them. Calm made them visible to anything listening. The worst part was not knowing if it was real. Until it stayed. A big turn looks guilty. A small turn looks like weather. Evasion had a price. Movement inside the secret. They didn't fix problems with speeches. They fixed them with half-turns and quick checks. The danger didn't leave. It repositioned. They steered toward the uglier water because ugly water hid honest shapes. They weren't racing the ocean. They were threading a needle through it. The Atlantic didn't care what they carried. Every knot was a promise made in the dark. Sometimes the storm hides you. Sometimes it hides the thing hunting you. It wasn't weather, That was something keeping pace. They couldn't outrun a torpedo. They could only avoid being a straight line. Nothing followed them in sight. That was the problem. The ocean hides its teeth well. No one spoke. Speaking would make it real. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Slowing down was an invitation and a test. Whatever it was, it adjusted with them. They didn't need to see the enemy to know it was real. The ocean didn't care who hunted whom. Every knot argued with the sea, and won for now. Either the storm saved them, or something let go. Survival at sea was never confirmed in the moment. Daylight didn't mean safety, it meant they were still alive. What storms hid, daylight revealed. U-boats hunted below, aircraft hunted above. Not every sound was death. Every mile west was money not sinking. They didn't write victories, they wrote survival. Safety never arrived suddenly. It crept closer. No cheers, not yet. The Atlantic had let them go. Safety was a border you couldn't see until you crossed it. Reaching shore didn't end the mission. It changed the kind of threat. In England, they feared torpedoes. Here, they feared questions. The mission survived on paper as much as steel. Opening the hatch felt like confessing without words. A word on wood was now the country's disguise. No one needed to know. They only needed to sign. The ocean was behind them. The rails were the next gamble. Different walls, same secret. The war couldn't reach them if the secret kept moving. The best disguise was a life that looked normal from far away. Secrets don't always meet enemies. Sometimes they meet attention. When they sensed eyes, they added one more layer of steel. The hardest part wasn't crossing the ocean, it was hiding the ocean's cargo in plain sight. They didn't build a vault like a monument. They built it like a wound, fast, deep, and hidden. The secret changed hands again, still pretending to be nothing. A secret can survive storms, then die in a hallway. The city swallowed the treasure, floor by floor. They built the hiding place just fast enough for the secret to arrive on time. They didn't just store wealth, they stored proof it existed. They hid the treasure the way you hide guilt, by never letting it sit in the open. Every opening was a risk, every closing was a victory. They didn't store it on one floor, they buried it in layers. In a mission like this, being close enough was how you lost everything. Montreal kept the paper, Ottawa would take the weight. A capital city isn't built to hold gold, it became one anyway. If anyone cheered, the wrong people would hear it. Paper can be forged, weight cannot. For a heartbeat, the disguise failed, and they forced it back into place. Ottawa didn't just govern a nation, it guarded one. Once the door shut, the gold stopped being cargo and became a future. After the ships and trains, the final defense was paperwork that no one was allowed to read. The war raged. The secret sat still, quiet, heavy, and useful. In 1946, the world finally learned what had been moved in the dark. Not a single bar was lost, and because of that, the war didn't steal the future. And if one torpedo had found that ship, history would have spent the rest of the war broke. If you want the next hidden operation that quietly changed the war, click here and subscribe for the series. For years, the city looked like any other, while history slept beneath it. Once revealed, the operation returned to silence, by design. That hidden wealth turned into ships, planes, and time. One route, one storm, one chance. History remembers what happened. It forgets what almost did. Nations still move wealth the same way, quietly, and before it's too late. Wars aren't only fought with weapons, they're fought with logistics. Operation Fish worked because every link held. Most of the people who made it work never knew the full story. They protected the mission by protecting ignorance. Operation Fish proved that secrecy, timing, and logistics can decide wars. If your country had one chance to survive, what would you move first? Subscribe for more untold operations that shaped history.